This isn't gardening, it's logistical warfare. A 10-hectare luxury estate generates more complexity than some small airports. Every blade of grass is cut to exactly 3 centimeters. Seasonal florals are rotated 4 times per year across 25 acres. Underground, an invisible empire runs 12 miles of irrigation lines, 3,000 sensor nodes and drainage systems that reroute water faster than most municipal plants. To keep one ultra-high net worth property guest-ready year-round requires a permanent strike team of 20 staff, a $1 million annual operating budget, and the kind of operational precision that would make a Formula One pit crew jealous. This is high-stakes horticultural choreography, and almost nobody sees it happen. In 2026, the commercial landscaping industry generates over $200 billion in annual revenue across 726,000 firms in the United States alone. But elite estate maintenance operates in a completely different financial universe. A typical high-end development allocates $900,000 just for initial landscaping installation, including hardscaping, irrigation infrastructure, salt-tolerant species selection, and drainage engineering. That represents 7 to 11% of total startup capital before a single season of maintenance begins. For ongoing operations, a 10-hectare property, think luxury private island estates or ultra-premium golf course communities, needs $1 million per year just to maintain existing grounds. That breaks down to approximately 40% for hardscaping maintenance and irrigation operations, 35% for labour and overhead, and 25% for materials, equipment, and seasonal plantings. To put that in perspective, maintaining these estates costs more per year than the median home price in 45 US states. But here's where it gets interesting. Unlike commercial maintenance, which makes up 83% of the landscaping industry's revenue, and focuses on weekly mow and blow contracts, estate-level operations run around the clock, every day of the year. There is no off-season when your client expects perfection during their unannounced February visit. This creates a fundamentally different business model. While typical landscape firms plan equipment and labour utilisation at 80% capacity and can flex crews across dozens of smaller accounts, estate operations require dedicated permanent teams with near zero downtime tolerance. The math only works at enormous scale, which is why only 200 to 300 firms in the US can realistically service this tier. What guests see: manicured lawns, perfectly edged beds, not a leaf out of place. What they don't see: the technological backbone that makes it possible. 12 miles of subsurface irrigation lines feed from a central pump station powerful enough to supply a small neighbourhood. 3,000 soil moisture sensors report to AI-monitored control systems that adjust watering schedules in real time based on weather forecasts, humidity levels, and even seasonal plant stress patterns. The drainage infrastructure is even more impressive. Underground channels move stormwater at rates exceeding 500 gallons per minute, essential when a sudden downpour can't be allowed to flood event lawns or drown salt-intolerant species that cost $15,000 per mature tree. 2026 industry data shows that irrigation and hardscaping infrastructure now consumes over 40% of luxury grounds budgets, driven by 2 factors: rising material and equipment costs due to tariffs and supply chain pressures, and sustainability mandates that demand water-efficient, weather-resilient systems. Installing this infrastructure takes approximately 4 months and requires specialised contractors that most commercial landscape firms never work with, including geotechnical engineers, irrigation systems designers, and agronomists who specify microclimates down to individual garden zones. But installation is the easy part. Maintaining it requires staff who can troubleshoot complex electrical systems, diagnose plant pathology, and read drainage flow patterns, skills that command $21 to $25 per hour in 2026, up 12% from just 2 years prior. It is 4:47 in the morning on a Tuesday in June. Most of the estate's guests are asleep. 20 landscaping professionals have already been on the property for 47 minutes. Here is why the timing matters. Daytime operations disrupt the guest experience. Mowing noise, equipment movement, and crew presence all detract from the luxury product. So the bulk of maintenance happens in carefully choreographed shifts with early morning teams handling mowing and edging. Mid-morning crews rotate seasonal florals and manage hardscaping. Afternoon staff focus on irrigation diagnostics and equipment preparation for the next day. This is where labour becomes the defining constraint. The landscaping industry faces severe staffing shortages in 2026. 54% of firms cite recruiting and retention as their primary business risk. With unemployment low and wage competition fierce, 70% of landscape contractors are raising wages, and 44% are implementing increases of 4% or more. For estate operations, this is existential. You cannot staff a 20-person permanent team by competing for seasonal H-2B visa workers like most landscape firms. You need year-round professionals, which means offering benefits, competitive salaries, and retention incentives. One estate operation in Connecticut reported spending $180,000 annually just on crew housing to keep staff nearby and reduce commute friction. The result is total annual labour costs, including burden, overtime and benefits, average $31 per working hour per employee, even when base pay is $25. Multiply that across 20 staff working 2,080 hours per year, and labour alone consumes $1.29 million. This explains why the $1 million budget is not excess, it is actually tight. Elite landscape operations plan at 80% capacity for both equipment and personnel, and there is a reason. If you budget assuming 100% utilization, any disruption is catastrophic. Equipment breaks, staff get sick, weather forces rescheduling. A single John Deere commercial mower costs $45,000 and requires 2 weeks lead time for parts when something fails. Planning at 80% builds a buffer, but there is a darker reason for the cushion: payment timing. In 2026, 76% of landscape contractors bill within 4 days of service completion, but only 39% report receiving payment on time. 60% experience delays of at least 1 week, and 7% face payment cycles stretching 2 to 3 months. Even ultra-high net worth clients aren't immune to payment friction. Wire delays, estate manager approval workflows, and accounting cycles all introduce lag. So firms plan for liquidity assuming slow cash conversion, which requires maintaining credit lines and equipment reserves that further inflate operational costs. By the time guests step onto the lawn for their morning coffee, the logistical ballet is complete. The crews have rotated off property, the irrigation system has shifted to daytime conservation mode. The only evidence of the $1 million operation is 3-centimeter grass blades and not a petal out of place. In 2026, luxury isn't what you see. It's what you never notice. Behind every pristine estate is an invisible empire of infrastructure, technology, and human precision operating on margins tighter than most people realize. Welcome to high-stakes horticulture.